Well, let's get into the fitness stuff a little bit, man. I wanted to ask you this question, and we kind of hit on it with like the trends in the fitness industry. Is there an old school training method that you'd like to see make a comeback? Because I feel like people get so far removed from what really works, at least from what I see on a daily basis. And they want to do like all the sexy stuff that you see on Instagram. And we both grew up in the 80s. We've been I'm both like Arnold. I mean, he created all this stuff. But you know, you see these influencers sometimes, and I hate to keep picking on them, but it's hard not to, man. And you're just like, what is this silly shit you're doing? Like, you know, like stick to the basics. Is there one thing you'd like to see kind of make a like I don't want to say comeback, but maybe a more common training modality that you don't see anymore?
Well, that's interesting you say that. I guess now that we've been around long enough, and I'm pretty good at pattern recognition, and so we're seeing is relatively predictable.
Hmm.
And it's not only a chronological age thing, it's because I saw it in myself. You learn like I learned to lift from my dad, so you learn from somebody and you believe that's gospel, especially if you had some experience or uh, some success. And then you have usually like a second, and you think you got it all figured out, right? And then you find that second influence, and then you're like, oh, this is the guy that knows everything. For me,
Hmm.
that was Larry Judge. And so you kind of keep going. And then at some point you kind of get this weird feeling, like, you know what? I'm in my mid 20s. I've had some success. I want to be a guy. And and then you brainstorm all these wacky different things that you could do so you could be different. And that's what I believe the influencer world is doing. They're doing the
Hmm.
natural chronological aging process. They learned some basics, they had some success, they maybe made a name for themselves. They realized that they can't say, we used to call it Arby's because you remember back in the 90s that Arby's used to have 5 roast beef sandwiches for $5.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we would call it that was the 5 for 5 deal. And so we used to call it the squats. We would do squat Arby's. We was 5 times 5. So we're
Mm.
like, "What are you gonna run today?" We're like, "I'm just gonna run Arby's." And that was 5 times 5 squat. So, but Arby's works. Like 5 times
Yeah.
5 squat works. It works really, really well, but you can't sell that every week, you know? You
Mhm.
know what I came up with, guys? Like, go relatively heavy 5 times 5 and then go home and eat. It doesn't sell. So
No.
we all just as fashion, and I see strength and fitness as there's strength fashion as well. And the pendulum always swings. And so there's people that, hey, blue jeans and a white shirt looked really cool in the 50s. And then it looked really cool again in the 70s. And then it looked really cool again in the 90s. And it looks really cool again now. But it swings back and forth, right? So everyone
Yeah.
wants to do this thing. And so which I think you're always going to get the mid 20s, early 30s influencers or ones that have been in the game for about 7 to 12 years. They've had some success. They're going to feel like they have to make a name for themselves. They're going to come up with a bunch of wacky stuff, or they're going to pull and coalesce a few pieces. They're going to name it something that is brandable and sticky, because the other part you have to take into account, your market, or the people who are watching and most susceptible to the industry, are generally pretty new in the industry. So they
Mhm.
weren't around 9 years ago or 12 years or 17 years ago when it hit the last time. They're new. So they're 3 years into it. They don't know anything. And then when somebody, and I'm just going to pick on Ben for a second. I love Ben, but like, wow, knees over toes. That solved everything. And you're like, it's good. It's Charles Poliquin's protocol from the 90s,
Yeah. Yeah.
and there's nothing wrong with it. And thankfully, like, he really cites it, and he's done a great job. But he took a couple things and coalesced them into something. But the funny part, but it gets very sticky because you could put it into a fashionable bite-sized piece, and
Mhm.
and the and if no one ever sold anything off of it, sold or got likes or sponsorships or anything like that, people would stop doing it. Well,
Right.
the other part is it works. So people
Mhm.
keep seeing that as their pathway to get notoriety. And then a lot of them I talk to as they're, 20, 30 years into it. And then the pendulum always swings back. Talking to Christian Thibodeau the other day, and he and I know
Hmm.
each other for 25 years.
Man, he's
He's
awesome.
fantastic.
Love that
And
dude.
and yeah, and he was doing auditing of a lot of the different training protocols, but then you get a guy like that that's hey, he's tried German volume training. He's tried this. He's tried this. He's tried this. He's tried this, and he's drank all the Kool Aid, and he's swung the pendulum. And then after that, he gets back to he goes, RB squats works pretty good. And if you want to do it, it'll probably work really good. Maybe you want to tweak a couple things
That's awesome. That's
because,
awesome.
and if you want to do 10 times 10 German volume training, or you want one and a
Yeah.
quarter squats, hey, those are cool. Do those for 3 weeks because you'll stay mentally and emotionally in this. And that's what I've kind of come down to. I've been training hard since for 35 years now. So I look at it and go, I'm doing some of the stuff I did today is the same stuff I did when I was 14. I'm playing with
Yeah.
different pieces of the puzzle because they make it interesting. And because
Mhm.
I'm not paid anymore to be big and strong, I guess inadvertently because of my brand. But that being said, I still love it. And so if
Mhm.
doing it because there's interest and you're learning and you're loving it, you're missing the boat. So that's where I would say as people they try all the fashions and then they
Mhm.
eventually come back to a set of blue jeans that fit pretty well, a nice white t-shirt, and that's where it kinda goes into so I would say I don't necessarily want to see one thing or another occur again.
Mhm.
I just enjoy watching the natural progression. It's like watching a kid grow up. They're gonna be
Yeah.
kinda rebellious at first, and then they're gonna realize their parents weren't stupid, and then they're gonna be friends with their parents, and then unfortunately, they're gonna lose their parents. Like, that's kind of
Right.
the arc, right? The story arc. And I've
Right.
been around long enough, I could watch the story arc of the fitness journey, and I just try to, in some ways, let people be on the arc, on that story arc, but then also like kind of tell them the scene that's coming up next. Like, hey man, don't go down this one too far. So do you remember a name that Al Vermeil, a strength coach,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
legendary strength coach? He was a strength coach of this little basketball team in the 80s, 90s called the Chicago Bulls, but he's pretty good at it. But he and I talked years ago, and I asked him about a certain exercise, and he had the most brilliant answer. He said, "Tell me what it is, and I'll tell you what we used to call it." And I just sort of laughed because it was just kind of reminding me, you if you've been around it long enough, you've tried everything.
Yeah, yeah.
And he goes, "Am I?" Or like I introduced Kevin Yoxel when he was at University of Auburn, probably in '07 or '08. I said, "Hey, Kevin, are you guys doing any CrossFit, or have you seen CrossFit?" And those are, of course, the early days. And he
Mhm.
goes, "Oh, what's that?" And I go, "I mean, those are early days." And I said, "Well, it's kind of like Olympic lifting and this, and I can medicine ball and this." And I kind of did it. He goes, "Oh, conditioning." I go, yeah.
No, it's the sport of fitness. It's not
No, I
conditioning.
mean, it was the funniest thing in the world because you're talking about a guy who was a strength coach at UCLA during the hot, like for 30 years. And then he goes, "Oh, okay, conditioning. Cool." And that was the conversation. And it was just like, "Uh, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
That's
And there's
awesome.
more
That's
to it."
awesome.
So that's where I try to demystify a little bit of it for people and
Yeah.
realize like go explore, do all the fun stuff, try all the crazy workouts. As Louis Simmons used to say, anything will work for a while, and anything that works with a big enough dose could get you injured also. So and so that's where I'm still enjoying my journey is just I try different things. I tried this for 3 weeks. I might try it for 2 sessions. Like, hey, it was cool. I got a little accommodation, like some little stuff happening. Oh, it's interesting. That made my back feel this way. This made my hamstring. And so just always trying to learn and experiment without the I have to be a hit guy or I have to be, and everyone dies on that sword when they're in their mid 20s. They're like, oh, if you
Yeah.
squat with your feet wide, you're an idiot. And you're just like, come on, man.
Don't pull
Don't
sumo.
pull Zumba, front squats early. If you're not wearing lifters, you're a moron. If you're not wearing
Yeah.
chucks, you're soft. It's just like,
Yeah.
yeah, we can rah-rah all we want. That's
Right.
it's entertaining, but let's be really honest. Like, if we're trying something really hard relatively often per week, and we're trying to help those around us, that's the workout you need to be doing.
Right. Totally.
There
Totally.
it is, right.
But I feel like maybe it's from what I see like in the area I'm in, but I feel like the younger generation is they're trying to skip what we were taught, the basics, squat, deadlift, press, or bench, and they're skipping all that and going to all the accessory stuff. And it's like, no, dude, you got to build that foundation when you're still young.
Yeah.
And it's like they don't want to put the work in. And even when we had a CrossFit gym, I would see it. So we'd have some high school kids come in and they wouldn't want to squat. And I'm like, man, you're like, you got brand new parts. Like, why are you not wanting to squat? Because then you got the guys that are like, oh, my shoulder hurts or my so we're not doing it as much. But the younger guys, you're just looking at them like, dude, when we were in high school, we were squatting all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like
And
death by volume, right? But
yeah,
volume,
totally,
it was
totally.
almost like an attrition training. Like, if you could get
Mhm.
through this, you will probably be strong just because you're still alive. And, I'll talk to guys now and they're like, well, when I'm doing my lateral raise, I want the fully, this position of the shoulder and this. I'm thinking, I just grew up grabbing the biggest dumbbells I could and yamming the piss out of them. And you do that and you try to beat your buddy,
Yep.
and then you put $5 on who could do this the most. And then you
Mhm.
try to kill each other squatting, and then you go to Taco Bell at the mall and eat as much as you
Crush
can,
it.
and then you
Yep.
go home and go sleep. Like,
Yep.
guess what? And the weird part was we were strong as crap doing that.
Yep.
And so that's
Yep.
where we're more educated, but I think you're right in a way. People have lost. They've gotten too. I mean, we all remember 15, 18 years ago when recovery wasn't that big of a thing, but I think they've gotten too recovery focused and
Yep.
not enough
100%,
just
man.
work focused, because everyone
Yep.
has to floss, everyone has to do this, everyone has to do sauna and ice bath. I'm like, hey, great, I'm 49. I'm doing that to stay in the game. But at
Right.
23,
Just go lift.
go lift
Go work
and
out.
and eat as much as you possibly can and try to
Mhm.
every chance you get, and you'll be ridiculous.
Yeah. Like you're 23, you don't need a rest day. Go train, you know?
It's
Um
pretty crazy.